is Ruel's Running Podcast, a podcast about running, health, family, play, and an NSNG lifestyle. And now, here's your host, Ruel.
Excuse me as I rock on. That's Went Away by Dorothy Lane. Dorothy Lane out of Martinez, California. That's out of the Cut and Dry album. Check them out at dorothylanemusic.com. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. This is Ruel, your host. How's it going? It's been a minute. And wanted to switch on the mic and talk to you a little bit. Yeah. I'm doing fine, thanks for asking. I'm a little wiped out. I did a little workout, but I can talk about that later. Let's kick it off. Yeah, if you are a return listener, welcome back. Thanks for being here. If you are a new listener, welcome. Yeah. So as sort of usual, I like to kick off with a sort of a what's cooking sort of thing. So yeah, what is cooking, y'all? And the last thing that I put together that really was easy was some leftover pulled ham. Let's talk about the pulled ham for a second. I'm not a big ham guy. Even more, I'm not a big ham guy that has all that sugary glaze and crap on it. I saw this one video where this guy was prepping a ham. It was a pre-sliced ham, and he was wedging in between each of the slices of apple, and then he would cover it all up with sugar, and then he would have it on a roasting pan, and he would put some sort of alcohol over through the ham after doing all that vandalism he did on the ham. Then he would cover it up with, it looked like it was a ham skin. So I don't know. He Hannibal Lectered it. He pulled the skin out. He had skin, covered it up, and roasted it, and then, it cooked the ham or heated the ham, whatever, and all that liquid and all that sugar sort of worked its way together and became one big sloppy goo, and plated the ham and poured all of that goo all over the ham, and went on with the rest of the video, making it sound like it was the most beautiful, wonderful, delicious thing that God's ever created. I think the god of diabetes, yes, but it's Jesus Christ. Why? So, anyways, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of ham. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. But I came across something a while back, and it was pulled ham. I'm like, I didn't need to look up a recipe. I already had an idea in my head. And essentially what it was me picking up a hickory smoked ham. None of the honey baked, none of that stuff. Just the ham that had been smoked. And a lot of times they come, when you buy them at the store, they come with some sort of sugary package, right? Some glaze. And that went straight to the trash. So got the ham. I mean, at this point, it's already cooked. But what I did was I put the ham in the Instant Pot, threw in like a half cup of water, and let that thing do its slow cooking, pressure cooking, whatever, for about, I don't know, an hour. I just wanted it to heat through. I just wanted it to get to that next level of tenderness, I guess. It's nothing like a little tenderness. And when that was done, to be able to pull it like you would, a pork shoulder or a pork butt or a beef roast, and that sort of, I don't know what you would call it, version, presentation, format of ham is more appealing to me than, these uniform slices of dense meat. So I had leftovers of the pulled ham from friggin' Thanksgiving, and yeah, it's still good. So I threw that on a cast iron pan, just however much I wanted to eat at that one given time, and seasoned it up with black pepper and a little bit more salt. Then I plated it. And then I had a couple of eggs, and I had them over easy and runny, and I put them on top of after the eggs were done. I put them over the pulled ham and punctured the yolk and let it ooze all over that meat, and it was wonderful. Ham and eggs, delicious. So that's what's cooking. And looking ahead, the family picked up a 4-bone rib roast at the Costco, and it ain't cheap, and we're not wealthy, but it's worth it. So we're looking forward to that for the holidays, but we're also, aside from that, we're going to do a pork roast. We're going to do some, we're having a little bit of a get-together with some other families, and we're kind of dubbing it a international food event, where everybody brings a dish or two, in the spirit of, international food variety and enjoyment and entertainment. So we're going to do this pork roast that we found a recipe. I want to say it's some like Puerto Rican inspired or recipe. So it'll be cool. Essentially what it is just the same. It's just the meat that we all have access to, and it's just using spices and seasoning that we ordinarily don't use. So that's the way I look at it, and it's gonna be good. Yeah, that's what's cooking. And if you're hearing like a rustling and stuff, it's my insulated, what do you call this little puffy vest. Not that puffy anymore. It's seen better days. And yeah, at any rate, that's what's cooking. On to family. Family's good. We're approaching the holidays, so the kids that are old enough to have what's called finals in school, I don't know what that is, they're having it, and everybody else is wrapping up the semester leading up to the winter break, and that's going to be good. Family's going to enjoy that break, that's for sure. And we may find ourselves somewhere elsewhere to enjoy that break. And I'll report on that when that happens and how that goes. Hope you guys are okay and looking forward to some good time off. I'm having a lot of time off right now. It's so awesome. Yeah, a lot of time off. And that's all I got to say about that. So what else is going on? Oh, yeah. So we are in middle of December and 1 second. All right, so I was saying, I had to pause that thing for a little bit. I had to do something. But we're halfway done with December, and I'm part of this challenge in the Vinny Tortorich No Sugar No Grains group. The event was called a 90-day push, and it started in October. So the idea is, be as disciplined as possible in the lifestyle or way of eating. And for those who don't know what that is there's a Facebook group that I've been a part of on and off for a long time, and the way of eating is basically no sugars and no grains. And what does that mean for me? I've never been a big sugar sweet kind of eater, even though I could. But yeah, so no sugary stuff, no hyper sweet stuff, artificially sweet stuff, no grains, wheat, rice, oats, quinoa, whatever grains else you can think of, right? And what it all comes down to is, cutting back on a lot of this hyper-processed carbohydrates. It's not zero sugar, because I'll still eat blueberries, which has its natural sweetness. But yeah, so it's basically that. And then I extend it into primarily meat-based, right? And then when I share stuff on social media about how I sort of celebrate some of these things that I'm eating or what I'm preparing, and it's like a chunk of meat, it leaves people thinking that I'm a carnivore guy, and it sort of offends some people, right? They're like, well, you need to sprinkle some vegetables in there so that your pooping will be happy, And I'm like, whatever. So, it's basically that. But I kicked off my nutritional shift in September, where I locked in on no sugars, no grain, and I locked in on prioritizing meat and fish. I prioritized not eating any more rice, while I'm sort of made this shift with the plan of, if I do have rice, it would be once in a while, as if I'm having a birthday cake. Once in a while, like not habitual and not a whole lot, right? So it's been that. And so since September, I was sort of already like a half month ahead of the 90-day push sort of effort. And, and as I talked about last episode, I had allowed myself to sort of wait for that moment to make this sort of shift. And, it just so happened that along the way, the 90-day push event in the Facebook group showed up. So I'm like, well, I'm already doing it, so I'm participating. And here we are, middle of December, and I'm doing pretty well. I pulled up I shared some pictures on my social. It was sort of a comparison before and after from July of this year to, November? And the July photo, I looked puffier, looked chunkier, and looked older and tired. And the November shot, I was a little bit leaner, and sure, it's just a head shot, a bust shot or whatever. But I put that image, those side by sides together, and I shared it with my wife, and she was like, started laughing. She's like, "Oh, no way!" She's like, "You did something to that photo back in July." I'm like, "No, I didn't." And I pulled up the original photo. It was actually a cropped photo, which was originally the family together on vacation. Right? And people don't get it, right? Because everyone has to deal with their own situation, and for me, I'm not fortunate. I mean, I'm lucky that I'm not heavy, or I wasn't heavier, and I'm not a tall guy, so it doesn't take a lot of weight for me to actually be really unhealthy, and that's more than physical. It's also psychological, right? When I don't feel like I'm in my own body, it's depressing, and if that stays around for too long, one feeds the other. The depression feeds the pattern of I don't care, and the I don't care leads to I'm going to have a drink, or I'm going to eat this whatever, right? Thing that's hyper processed and not good for me, and the I don't, and then that's gonna all of that's gonna feed the weight gain and all of the symptoms that come with not being healthy. The messed up sleep, the messed up skin, not fitting in clothes, and the back issues, and lack of mobility, and then that feeds the depression and back and forth. So now I'm at a state where, I've cleared a good, 12, 15, it fluctuates, pounds, and my clothes fit better, and I knew it too. I got to a point earlier this year where I was putting on clothes, and they were pretty snug on me, and whenever I washed them, I didn't care. I threw them in the dryer, because I wasn't stupid enough to think like, oh my God, the dryer is shrinking my clothes. Every time I did laundry, I knew I was like, I'm just fat, right? And that's not to shame anybody. That's shaming myself, right? I'm just fat, right? So, we all have to be sensitive to dryers, laundry dryers, because they have feelings too, and we don't want to blame them for our obesity. So, yeah, the idea of cutting, all these hyper-processed carbs and things and grains and sugars is not hard, because I always think back at, I had already quit alcohol, and that was pretty hard, right? And if you're somebody who enjoys a drink now and then and doesn't have issues with it, then I'm not that kind of guy, right? I can, and I've talked about it, I'm not going to talk about it here, but yeah, just one thing leads to another. I'm one of extremes. So right now, my extreme has been I'm extremely avoiding grains and sugars and alcohol. I'm better for it, and I'm extremely prioritizing meat and fish. And yeah, I do have vegetables. I mean, when I'm at home, like the other day, I just had some steamed broccoli and butter and salt, right? Just a bunch of it, right? And other times, I'm just having a side of kimchi, right? So I'm having my vegetables. At any rate, so that's what's up. Feeling good. And I said I'd talk about the exercise piece, and yeah, I did been kind of extreme with the exercise, but trying to be smart with the exercise. I'm not trying to run myself to the ground. I'm not trying to run myself to the ground by having like a constant, like everyday chronic sort of cardio sort of deal. I think when I started adding workouts, strength work, I was more sort of, there was a fascination with using new home equipment, and working on technique, and then figuring out sort of a workout routine, and finding ones that I enjoy. So, and then once I sort of locked down on how I use the equipment and what routines or exercise or movements I wanted to flow through, then it became how efficient can I be with that, and how do I where do I fit them in during the week so that I'm allowing for the workout to happen and the body to sort of improve and then rest, so I can do other things and be recovered for the next time I get into it. So today was one of those days where I'm coming off of, a couple of days rest, and I didn't have a lot of time. So I went into some sort of 45-minute sequence of work. And, I'm glad I did, because there's stuff that I want to do, and I don't want to be preoccupied with when is my next workout. And whenever I get to that point where I'm, feeling like I got to work out today, but then it's so busy, and then I never work out, and I feel sort of disappointed, and I start, then that sort of leans towards like, feeling that disappointment leans towards, if that isn't checked, then I can get a little depressed about that situation. So, whenever I'm looking at, I'm amidst a task, right? Should I just plow through the task, get it done, and then, or should I figure out its priority, make a decision to sort of put it on hold, do the exercise, and recommit that once I'm done with the exercise, I can go all the way and get the task done and feel good about the fact that I'm getting something done, and feel good about the fact that I got my exercise. So, some days, I still have to work on that decision. And then there's some days where I do it and feel good about it. So, and today's one of those days where I feel good about it. If anybody cares what kind of workout that I flow into, or what kind of things that I do, I have this ritual these days. I mean, I've had the ritual for a while, and it's carried over to, my more recent sort of period of working out, which is like today, where whether or not I need it for what it's intended for, and what I'm talking about is our hand wraps. Years ago, I took I was part of a school for Thai boxing, and just like traditional boxing, there's hand wraps, and And that was always sort of a ritual leading up to the actual workouts. And the workouts were, back then, pretty intense. And, they so it was more like I would get to the school, and I would start working on wrapping my hands, trying to get my mind right, and feeling a knot in my stomach, the knot of fear that I'm about to destroy myself, today. Anyways, that ritual's carried over to now. So I'll go into the gym, which is my garage, and I'll put on some music, get in my head as I wrap my hands. And some days wrapping my hands makes sense because I'm actually hitting the heavy bag, and some days I'm not hitting the heavy bag, but I'm wrapping my hands anyways. It turns out the hand wraps, the part of the hand wrapping that actually goes around the wrist, high up the arm, is pretty beneficial. It's like a wide wristband, and which is helpful because I'm going to talk about some of the equipment that I'm using, and it acts as a guard from the exercise equipment as it kind of bangs up against my arms. So the routine is I'll get in my head and I'll wrap my hands regardless of whether or not I hit the heavy bag, and then I'll go into some stretching sequences where I'll roll my wrists, and then I'll roll my shoulders, I'll roll my neck, my shoulders, my arms, my hips, and I'll do some side lunges to sort of open up the legs and the hips, and I'll do sides, and I'll do forward lunges. I'll roll the ankles, sort of move my knees around, so get everything sort of moving, and that always leads up to a sequence with the jump rope. So I used to just play music and jump for however long, like however many songs I want to jump. I'll jump for 2 songs, but in my gym, I have an old sort of TV, and I'll stream YouTube videos of certain workout videos that I've saved. And there's this one where it's a good sequence of jump roping, and I like to have that playing while I jump, because the guy who's running the video has you switch up sort of the switch the flow and the patterns of the jump, and then breaks up things with shadow boxing. So it's nice to have. So I'll do, I think I'll do like 15 minutes of the jump rope, mixing up the jump rope with the shadow boxing. I won't go through the whole video because I don't want the whole session to be just about the jump rope and the shadow boxing. So I'll cut the video halfway through just to get whatever that 15 minutes. And then today I went into kettlebell work. So yeah. There's this flow where I'll do sort of like 2 cleans where I'll kind of snatch the barbell, the bells under my legs and up to my chest. I'll do that twice, and then I'll do a single overhead press. Then I'll bring the weights to my chest, hold them up, and then I'll do 3 squats. So I forget the name of the sequence, something to do with like armor building complex. ABC. So if anybody's listening who's interested in kettlebells, you may already know this, or if you're interested, you can look it up. What does ABC kettlebell work? So armor building complex. So it's just two cleans, two cleans on overhead, and then 3 squats. And I have 2 sets that I was working with. One was a pair of 25-pound kettlebells, and then the other one was a pair of 30s. So depending on my mood, I'll start off with the 25s on each hand, and then I'll do the ABC flow, and then so what happens is you do that 2 1 3, and and then you get the rest of that minute to sort of rest, and then when the next minute comes into play, you run through ABC again, 2 1 3, and then however short or fast you get it done, you still wait till the next minute to conduct it over again, and you do that for a whole 15 minutes. Actually, today was different, because it doesn't take a lot of time to actually run through, depending on the weight, right? To run through ABC, then you've got like all that time to wait. So in between the ABC movements, I have a 15-pound mace ball, and I'm just doing, I don't even know what this is called, but there's a movement with the mace ball that I'm basically swinging the thing over and back behind me and back to my front. I got to figure out what the hell that thing's called. It's just swinging the mace ball, alternating left and right, pulling it, swinging it behind me and pulling it overhead, and holding it in front of me. So I would do that in between the ABC movements, sort of just to keep me busy. And so with the kettlebell work, I'm switching between basically loading myself up with 50 pounds, the lighter pair combined, and depending on how I feel, I'll switch it up to the 60-pound load, the 30-pound kettlebells, the pair of 30-pounders. And I'm not a big, strong guy, so that's enough weight for me to keep sort of pushing myself. So same thing with the mace balls. I have a 7-pound mace ball or a 7-pound mace, and I have a 15-pound mace. The 15-pound is lengthier and it's heavier, and I'm still working my strength and mobility up so that I can fling that thing around better. So I've got a lot of work to do to get there. My shoulders have to be strong enough to deal with the momentum that I'm trying to initiate with that piece of equipment. My grip has to be stronger so that I don't kind of like toss it, let go of it, and hurt something. So there's a coordination and a lot of core stability has to happen. So today was primarily that. It was the rope work, the kettlebell work, and the mace work. What I didn't mention with the rope work today was I did half of it on my regular speed rope, and then the other half with the weighted rope. I have I don't know, was it 5 or 7 pound? No, or maybe it's a 3 pound, 3 or 5 pounds. I forget what it was. It may just be 3 pounds weighted rope, and that's enough of weight that I'm flinging around with my wrists. And then there was just some ab work on the ground, on the mat, that involved some flutter kicks, some side to side flutter kicks, if that's even a thing. Then there were some twists, and yeah, there's some twists and rolls. I mean, it's hard to describe this stuff on an audio. Where if you're on your back, your knees are bent on the floor, and you're kind of like the rolls are kind of like when you're bobbing and weaving. If you imagine a boxer bobbing and weaving, but you're doing it on your back, and you're kind of working, you're rolling kind of clockwise and counterclockwise. So I'll do like 30 seconds clockwise, and then I'll rotate counterclockwise. Then there's one where it's sort of like toe touches. You're laying on your back, you lift your feet straight up, and then you try to touch your toes. But rather than me reaching up to try to touch my toes, I'm holding on to that 7-pound mace ball in my hand, and then adding some additional resistance. And that's pretty much it. That was good enough. I do, it's kind of chilly right now. Not as chilly as other parts of the country, but chilly enough where I need to keep myself covered and my body warm enough. So in addition to all of the effort and warming up there, I've got myself sort of covered up with a long sleeve, and I've been playing around with some additional sort of layers of insulation, and it's something I picked up from my Thai boxing teacher, one of them back in the day, where you get this product called Albaline, which is basically marketed as a makeup remover, and it kind of looks like petroleum jelly, right? And but apparently, boxers and fighters have been using it. Whether or not it works, what I do know what it does is it works. And you guys are like, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean? What are you talking about? And what works? And how is what working? What is exactly? Well, if you think of a sauna suit, right, or layering up with a sweatsuit and getting a lot of coverage over your body, so that as you do some aerobic, some light workout, your body heats up and it retains that heat. And as you retain that heat, you release, stored water. And so that's what I do when I'm working out. Is I'm promoting my system to go through that process of constantly sort of hydrating and flushing. Why? I don't know. I just feel like, if I want to trim down, it's one of the things that I can tinker with to trim down. Trim down similar to what a fighter does when they have to make weight, but not go extreme, right? It's just, I'm simply doing like 45 minutes in the garage, right? So whatever I can get, and so it's not unusual for me to start out being a certain weight. And then at the end of my workout, if I go straight to weighing myself, I would have like lost 3 or 5 pounds, right? Then I would sort of put it back on as I just have my normal meal and drink. But it's a way for me to sort of exercise my body's ability to sort of work its way to whatever set point I need to be. My ideal, for some reason, is sort of in the 140 range. And when I started this process, I was 162, I want to say, right? So right now I float around between my like a 148 and 152, depending on exercise, what I'm consuming, things of that nature. So over time that range has sort of shifted and slowly made its way down. Going back to this whole 90-day push, I'd like to, at the end of the year, get down to 140, but that's, that might not happen. I mean, depending on I how much I really, really want it. I mean, I know I'll get there, so I don't have to say by that particular date is my goal. I just want to get there. I want to get there. If it takes another month, great. Because right now, again, I feel good. I'm fitting my clothes well. My energy is good. My mobility is good. I'm, feeling great. So, yeah. Anyways, back to the whole thing. The Albaline is like a petroleum jelly sort of product, and the thing is, I smear it all over my body, right? At least like my legs, my arms, my chest, around my gut, around my love handles and things of that nature, right? So, my chest. So it's like an invisible layer of insulation. So as I work out, I like to think it's holding on to some of that. It's helping me retain more heat than I would have had I not had it, right? So, I do that. I'll have that going on while I work out, and it may be just another one of those things that I end up having as part of the ritual of my workouts. Is I'll decide, okay, it's time for a workout. I'll dress down in my workout clothes, and in that process, I'm smearing this Albaline all over, my body parts. I mean, not everything needs to have it. Like the inners of my cracks don't need to have it. My sack doesn't need to have it, nor does my junk need to have it. Right? There's nothing. Yes. Legs, arms, chest, gut, around the back, shoulders, good to go. Hit the garage, put on the music, start getting my head with the hand wraps, stretching, and then warming up with the ropes, then getting right into all of that work. And on some days, I'll hang the bag up, and then I'll do a different sequence of I'll do a different sequence of exercises with the heavy bag. It's a different video where there's a lot of options. There's a lot of content on YouTube. If you ever need ideas and you ever need sort of accompaniment with your workouts, and if you have the ability to have the ability, Jesus Christ, and if you have the option to have it playing, on some screen, heck yeah, right? It's like you're being. I never thought I'd be working out this way. I thought it was kind of dumb where you would open up like your gym app or your fitness channel on the TV, and there's people doing yoga and boxing and this and that. But having it in the garage, it's an old TV with an old Roku, with an old manual connectivity to some speaker. It's an old setup. I have it mounted and set up somewhere in the garage, but I'm able to play meaningful content, and I'm able to do the type of workouts that I want to do. I'm not feeling like I'm being forced into some weird sort of freaking Taibo / what's that? I was gonna say Jamba Juice. What's that colorful? It's not Taibo. It's like they do like this dance. Zumba. Jamba Juice. Zumba Juice. This is the Zumba stuff, like, oh God, I'm watching somebody like, yeah, go, like twist and turn and blah, blah, blah. That's not going to make me want to work out. The content that I'm watching, it's like, okay, kill yourself, using these movements, these flows, right? Take a break, get a drink. Okay, go back into it. It's not a party, it's a workout. So anyways, I had no idea what direction this whole recording was going to go, but it ended up being this way. And and I don't know, maybe next one I'll talk about, what sort of supplementation and what sort of things I'm doing nutritionally, to sort of complement all of this this motion to optimize how I eat and things and workouts to sort of transform and maintain certain level of fitness, at this point in my life, and what that means. But yeah, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next one. Remember to eat something delicious. Hug your friends and your family, or something along those lines. Hug your friends, hug your family, eat something delicious, and go run. Something. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Ruel's Running Podcast with Ruel. If you like what you just heard, share it with your friends and your enemies. Also, be sure to check out the site over at ruelsrunning.com. This has been another Coffee with Heavy Cream production. Join us next time for another silly show of Ruel's Running Podcast.